Hello YouTube, it's Yaroslav and Philosophy Man YouTube channel. The day of the December the 3rd is closing by, and it will be exactly 3 years since I started my channel and uploaded my first video, audio podcast. This video will be sort of mixed. It will have video parts, but most of its body will be consistent from audio. So let's move to the main part, body. So this is the body of the today's podcast, and for today's podcast I would mainly address my very first video, or actually it is an audio podcast on my channel, which I released precisely 3 years ago. It has no name, it just has a name of my channel and the marking podcast 01. At that time, I didn't know that it is actually a bad idea to call YouTube videos in this way. However, I released it 3 years ago, and it contains some of the key ideas for the existence of my channel, which almost all are now viewed from the different point of view, extremely different point of view. And I think it is interesting to theorize about that. I also have 2 videos that sort of sum up the year periods of my YouTube channel, but I do not address them. They are mostly very technical. They just analyze some peculiarities in my videos and the views and the different course which I will take in the next year. However, these different course details will also be addressed, but in the context of the first audio podcast. As for the course of my 3rd year, I just say, first of all, I have much less quantity of videos this year. In the first 2 years, I uploaded 50 and 60 videos. This year, it is not even 40. I think it is somewhere around 30. And this has a reason that actually in the February of 2022, the Russian invasion started in Ukraine, and I had to flee the city I lived in, and I had to take some works which involved heavy labor, and it was generally not a good psychological context to make content, so I just had not that much of a time to do quality videos, unfortunately. The next big news in this course is that from the beginning of the invasion I switched completely to the English language. I actually thought about it earlier. I was advised so by many friends and colleagues that you actually aim at a much more bigger audience, and also you will train your English language, which is quite important in today's world. I do not hate Russian language, but I think it is impossible to do Russian-speaking blog in Ukraine after the political events that unfolded in beginning of the 2022. Okay, and also this is the thing that I'm getting back to the audio podcasts. I tried to do few audio podcasts when I had no equipment, no camera, and I thought that actually they still draw a lot of attention. People listen to that, and also I do not have to waste so much time and psychological effort to produce a video, and when all the content about video is just seeing my face talking, it's not that interesting. So for this time I think of something like a mixed type of a podcast, but in the future I think I will stick to the audio podcasts, with some minor exceptions maybe, but I'm not sure. So getting back to my first video, I would say that I had very naive ideas about the channel at the beginning. I thought of it even becoming my prior primary activity. However, it didn't work out, and I didn't know much about YouTube and YouTube audience at that time. I still do not know a lot of now, but more than at that time. But I had some ideas about culture, about philosophy, and the connection between culturology and philosophy. What I didn't want to do is just to become another channel that makes reviews of films or books. However, now I see it differently. There is nothing wrong in becoming a channel that makes reviews of books. It is the thing is how you do it, what books you read, and how you evaluate them, if it is interesting or not. And also, analyzing popular culture is much more uh, better way to do that, I'd say, is to take particular artifacts and analyze them. At that time, I thought maybe I need something special to bring something novel to my channel to make it interesting for the audience. But actually, I would say I wasn't experienced enough as a reviewer to make even the average review content. So let us say that I actually grew in my YouTube worldview. So it's to say to switch more to the classical reviews. The other thing is philosophy. At that time, I was still very involved with philosophy and philosophy texts. Now I'm more involved with culturology and history, especially history of Ukraine and Ukrainian literature. And it influenced my worldview as well. So as for now, the state of now, I do not think that using hardcore philosophical metaphysics is a great idea for analysis of culture, high culture, as I call it, or popular culture, mass culture. The thing is that metaphysics as a discipline is very limited. There are only few things that can be done in this direction. And also, when you try to extend the horizon, so to say, you start doing culturology. And if you want to switch more to popular culture, you're of course doing what I was talking about in the beginning, reviewing. So these 3 years were needed to just to admit that I actually will review the popular culture as much as I can, as effective as I can, in the stream of the regular channel on this topic, I think. The other thing is my idea about high culture and popular culture. Actually, when I listened to that my very first audio podcast, I forgot most of the things I was thinking at that time. I thought it is interesting, but I do not think about these things in this way anymore. I do not think that high culture is hermetic body that is completely isolated from the popular culture. Now I think that popular culture includes high culture, and you need to know high culture to know more about popular culture. And popular culture sometimes also can be esoteric, and the structure of this content is much more complicated than I at that time thought. I also do not think that playing the violin makes you a marginal anymore. I meant at that time, even some of my colleagues asked me about that. It's a very strange thing that you consider some intelligent activity to be marginal if it is not connected to practice. That sounds kind of wild, and maybe even proletarian. And I do not think so anymore. I think very highly intelligent activity has its own place, also, and it also has the connection to the practice, but indirect, and it depends on this particular activity what this connection is. However, at that time I didn't read Marx, and I would say that actually what I was thinking at that time was my proto-Marxist ideas about the subject. Uh, because Karl Marx writes the same thing about practice, about intelligent and art activity, but of course he, as a more experienced and profound philosopher, made it clear that it is a complicated and deep problem that is rooted in the history of mankind. And maybe it is worthwhile to develop this idea in this Marxist horizon of ideas, so to say. But for that, of course, I need to read and to know more. That's pretty much everything about my first podcast that I had that I wanted to make this dialogue in time. As for the future of the channel, I think I will eliminate all the parts about politics and switch completely to popular culture and return to audio podcasts. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye. That's all for today. I hope you like it. See you.